When you think of powerful types in Pokemon, a common answer would likely be the Psychic type. An absolutely iconic type in Gen 1 for being so ludicrously broken that they had to make 2 new types just to counter the Psychic types. In current day, there's at least 134 different Pokemon with that Psychic typing. Of course, some are much more powerful than others. Most legendaries and mythicals are Psychic types, you know? And others are much more popular and powerful than others. But with all those popular and powerful ones, we don't really get to share the spotlight with some of those obscure Psychic types, the ones that no one really talks about or there's not much fan art of. And the one I want to talk about in particular might just be the most outclassed, outloved, and most importantly, most forgotten one out of the bunch. At least in my opinion. Number 326, Grumpig. Grumpig and its pre-evolution Spoink was introduced in the advanced generation Helpman. Spoink can be found in one location in the entire game, in Jagged Pass, just after the events of the villainous team on Mount Chimney. It's actually less common than the other encounters in areas like Machop and Numel, and considering your next gym battle is against the Fire-type leader Flannery, you're likely just to skip it and move on. But if you do capture one and train to the even level of 32, you'll be met with this interesting looking pig creature. I won't even say Grumpig's design isn't even that bad, just a little plain and boring if you will. I like the color scheme, but compared to its pre-evolution Spoink, it's kind of a downgrade, not gonna lie. Its Pokedex entry takes a completely different turn as well. Spoink's entries was iconic for the idea of if it stops bouncing, it dies. What an awful life for this poor creature. That alone made it so recognizable. But as for Grumpig, most of its Pokedex entries consist of it saying it hypnotizes people by using the black pearls on its head, then it does a dance. That's neat, but how is that different from something like Hypno, who also hypnotizes you? I guess you could say it does the world's most hypnotic thug shaker, but I'm not gonna get into that. What was that buzzer for? Point I'm trying to get at is, what really makes it stand out amongst the other Psychic type competition? Maybe it's better than the other Psychic types in the region? Oh boy, let's get into gameplay when it comes to Grumpig. Grumpig has an interesting stat spread, being more of a special take instead of a common sweeper. I mean, 470 wasn't that bad in the generation it came out in. Its ability is Thick Fat, which reduces both the damage of fire and ice attacks. Now, when I think of Pokemon with Thick Fat, I think of comically large and husky Pokemon like Snorlax, Hariyama, and Walrein, who all have, well, Thick Fat. And I mean, Grumpig's got some junk in the trunk, but I guess pigs are naturally fat, so I guess that works? I ain't complaining though. There it is again, what? Now, looking at its move pool in Gen 3, it's not terrible, but it's definitely lacking. I mean, it can comfortably handle special attackers when it runs stuff like Calm Mind, but without somewhat decent access to recovery aside from rest and leftovers, it ain't gonna be walling anything before it gets too frail. Psychic types aren't really built for defense. That's where it would've had that secondary typing that came in. Take Slowbro for instance. Sure, it has more weaknesses, but also has more common resistances, better placed in its stats, and even has reliable recovery later on with Slag Off. Grumpig, being the pure Psychic type that it is, just gets beaten down much faster than other Psychics with dual typings. And even if you're not a nerd like me and know about competitive, most of the other Psychic types available in Hoenn are just better or even more popular in many ways. Take the Ralts Shrine for instance. It's picked up much earlier in the game, evolves into Gardevoir a lot faster, has a higher base stat total, and in terms of popularity, it got a Split Evolution in the next generation, got a Fairy type, and got a Mega Evolution in Gen 6. And it's also widely popular because people think this is attractive. And what, Grumpig isn't? Blasphemy. Who installed this? Why is this happening? But continuing on, the Aberline can also be caught much earlier on, and also is actually useful for the fighting type gym. And even when not evolving into Alakazam, Kadabra is just better at offense anyways. The Meditite line, the Baltoy line, Solrock, Lunatone, Girafarig, the Natsu line, Starmie, and the Beldum line all have dual typing to at least deal with other types more efficiently, have more resistances and immunities, and one is a pseudo-legendary, mind you. Latios, Latias, Jirachi, and Deoxys are all legendaries. Grumpig's only claim to fame as a Psychic type in Gen 3 is outclassing Wynot and Chimecho. And if that's your goal, I don't think you're gonna be going that far. And to be fair, Chimecho at least got some love with a baby form in Gen 4, and a decent role in the anime as James' second Hoenn Pokemon. And apparently Wynot is in the same competitive tier as Groudon, so I ain't messing with that. Grumpig just had nothing going for it for the generation. Even most trainers never used one, not even for the Psychic type gym. The only time you'll ever encounter a Grumpig is from a trainer is in Mount Pyre, from a trainer rematch. Well, at least they fixed this critical mistake in the remix. I mean, come on, we need more Grumpig. The only time Grumpig was on any important team in any of the games is on Will's rematch team in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That's it. And funny enough, guess what other Psychic-type Pokemon is on Will's team? A Gardevoir. It's like they're natural rivals or something. I mean, they both start with the letter G. Things don't get much better for Grumpig in later generations. And with better and better Psychic-type Pokemon coming out, why even bother with Old Bacon, am I right? You can't even get the evolution line easily in certain games. Gen 4 is a post-game exclusive Pokemon only in a swarm. Gen 5 was Black 2 exclusive. It wasn't readily accessible in Gen 5, being transfer only. It wasn't even available in Gen 8 Sword and Shield. Gen 6 was the only game that it could shine in. But guess who also got a Mega in that game, and was caught earlier, and evolves earlier? Wow, it's almost like Gardevoir alone outclasses Grumpig in every department. Except thickness, because goddamn! Ow! Okay, I'm sorry. I promise not to be weird. Gen 9 is where it got some love, because, well, it actually was caught earlier on, and at least got a ton of type coverage in terms of TMs. But again, guess what Psychic type can also be caught earlier on? Like, goddamn, I know some Pokemon are worse than Grumpig, but at least some of them are notable. What unique thing does Grumpig add to a team? Learning Splash? It's kind of upsetting, but maybe Grumpig gets some love outside of the main series games. Right? When it comes to the anime series, Grumpig actually has very few notable appearances. Even from Gen 3 standards, you'll see a lot of Hoenn Pokemon. Aside from debuting in a contest episode in Lilyco City, Grumpig wouldn't get time in the spotlight until 3 generations later in the X and Y anime series, an episode called An Oasis of Hope, where it's just kind of an asshole, just slacking off having the other Spoinks give it food. It also makes Ash's Goomy evolve, so I guess that's something. Even looking at the Pokemon cards of the Grumps, I mean, there's not many of them to look at, but there are some of which actually use the official artwork in the background, which I find kind of hilarious. But it has had some good art. I especially like the one from the X and Y series pack of Fates Collide. It's just the pig groovin'. Very hypnotically, I might add. Probably the most amount of attention it'll ever receive, I mind you. My second favorite is probably the EX Dragon set. Got a good Grumpig back shot. Oh, I see. This is to prevent weird commentary. Ah. It didn't work that well in hindsight. I already got the weird commentary in. We can also see Mighty Anna's mauling a horde of Grumpig. Don't know the context behind this one, but it's pretty metal. And aside from some random trainers having them in Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness, that's about it, man. Grumpig is just outclassed, outmatched, and most importantly, forgotten. But what if I could give a buff or two to make it stand out a lot more, or actually become an interesting choice in battle? The 3 big problems with Grumpig is that it doesn't hit hard enough, it doesn't have a reliable recovery move or its bulk, and pure Psychic typing doesn't help with taking hits either. So let's start with the easiest thing and giving it a secondary type that would fit. Personally, I think the Dark type would fit nice for Grumpig, due to its oddly malicious and tricky behavior in its Pokédex entry. Psychic Dart isn't an unheard of a combination, it's competing with Malamar and Hoopa Unbound. But with its new typing, its only weaknesses are Ghost, Bug, and Fairy. It also has immunity to other Psychic types, so it can at least beat them. And combined with Thick Fat, it also has the added resistances of Fire and Ice type, 2 pretty common attacking types. I mean, it's more of an original Dark type idea than Luxray, am I right? We'd also give it some dark-type moves for its new change, like Dark Pulse, Bite, and Crunch. I mean, pigs do have a pretty nasty bite. And as for its stats, I think at the end, 470 is pretty respectable. You can have a low base stat total and actually be pretty good and competitive. But let's kind of round it up to a bit of an even 500. But first, we can cut its speed. Pigs aren't really naturally fast creatures, and keeping it in line with a modest 60 isn't that bad. We aren't trying to outspeed the opponent, we're trying to stall it, so buffing its HP, defense, and special stats can make it tank hits a little bit more, while delivering a powerful psychic move. Hell, Grumpig has a ton of good coverage moves in general. Earth Power, Flash Cannon, Dazzling Gleam, Energy Balls, Shadow Wall, so it has good coverage, and going off a base 100 special attack instead of a 90 special attack, a small change can make a pretty big difference in the end. It's not unheard of that Pokemon get slight buffs to their stats. I mean, look at Masquerain. And as for the final thing I want to include, why don't we just give it the move Slack Off, because pigs are commonly lazy, and how about Follow Me, to direct incoming attacks to itself rather than its frail sweeper ally. Making these changes won't make it a competitive god or anything, but it can give it a few more chances to stand up to the opponent and fight back. At least that's just my outlook. It's not like Game Freak's gonna give Grumpig any love anytime soon. And honestly, that's kinda it for this video. I don't really know what prompted me to make this video or even write this script, but after using Grumpig in my Pokemon Violet playthrough, I gained a newfound respect for it. It's not great, hell, it's mediocre at best, and most people would probably forgotten about its existence after watching this video, and people don't even like its design, but hey, I guess I'm just different. And hopefully Grumpig gets more attention in newer releases. Maybe it might even get an alternate form. It's unlikely, but hey, I'm an optimist. And also may be controlled by a Grumpig in this video. You never know. Like the video and comment and subscribe to help the current state of the Thick Egg Empire.